All right, hello, welcome.
Hello, we're live.
This this is our very first Twitch live, so we're live on Twitch and YouTube at the same time right now.
Yeah, for those that haven't tuned in before, or if you're just seeing us on Twitch, or maybe you're watching us on YouTube and you haven't tuned in before, our LLC is called From Seed to Sprout, Homestead and Health, and I am Jason.
My name is Hannah.
And welcome to our podcast. So, one of the things that we're going to get started with, I think, for the new listeners or the people on Twitch that have not seen us before, so the people that are watching on YouTube know a little bit about our background, but the people on Twitch might not. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. So we started the homesteading process about a year ago. Well, we started the process longer than a year ago, but we weren't able to actually get on our property for, how long was it? 8 months, something like that?
Yeah, we started the process in February of 2024. We bought the land. We bought 6/10 of an acre. And then we ended up buying a modular home. And we put the modular home on the property, but it took a while for them to get the home on the property, and then of course they had to put it together, and do things like that. So we ended up not moving in until September, so I guess that'd be 7 months we waited to get into the actual house. So it was definitely a learning experience. It was the first time either of us had done anything like that, and it was both of our dream to be able to do this country living, kind of self-sustaining lifestyle.
Overall lifestyle, yeah. It was really cool to combine that vision. And if you want more details on kind of our origin story, then we do have a couple of videos up on YouTube. The first couple of podcasts that we recorded them. We didn't do them live.
Yeah.
But even the ones that we've done live are still in the archives on our YouTube page.
Yeah, and we try to do a video a week. We try to do one podcast at least a week, but we weren't able to do it last week because we tried to do a family podcast, but we ended up not being able to produce any sound. The microphone just didn't pick up on what people were saying and things like that. We were just positioned, in, I guess, areas that didn't allow for the microphone to pick up the sound waves. So we ended up not being able to use that podcast. And so for the people watching on YouTube, that's why we didn't do a podcast last week or post one. And it was also a busy weekend. We have a mixed family, and we have to go travel to either take our kids to their other parents' houses or receive them from their other parents' houses. So sometimes it gets just a little busy.
The holidays especially get a little bit busy.
Yeah. So, and then just a little bit more background just for the people on Twitch. I won't dive too far into this. If you're very interested, you can throw something up in the chat if you want to know more, or check out the origin story on the original YouTube podcast, episode 1. But just as far as the backgrounds go and how they kind of relate to homesteading, so I have a plant science background. I have my college degrees in plant science, environmental science, horticulture, and I currently work as a plant pathologist and managing a plant pathology soil-borne pathogen program over at New Mexico State University. And I'm very passionate about plants, about gardening, about a lot of things, but that's where a lot of the true passion lies, and you can see that in the education. So I try to relate my knowledge from the plant world into the homestead, which there's a lot of crossover for sure. So
yeah, absolutely. It was really cool when we first started dating, especially because I had a more spiritual view of nature. Like, I have a little bit of a science background, but nowhere near as extensive as your science background, especially in plants. But I've always been more of like a hippie mentality, I guess. Just real connected to the earth, and I'm just like, yo, can you feel the energies? And we were able to kind of merge those ideals. So in the past few years, I've learned a ton about plant science and how everything works. And I think that you've learned a lot about spiritually connecting with nature in that time as well.
Yeah, not just learning, but having the practicality to actually implement those, like what I have learned. You know, it's not just like, okay, well, I know about it, but I've been able to actually implement the things that I've learned. I've been able to connect with the land in a very spiritual way. And that's one of the driving factors behind, I mean, there's a lot of driving factors behind why the upkeep with the land and stuff is a major priority, but that's one of them. You know, it's like, okay, well, we both have this spiritual connection to the land, so why would we not take care of it, right? Like, why would we trash it? Or, I mean, of course, wind blows, and it blows hard here, and so trash is going to come into the yard, and that's going to happen. It's inevitable, whether you have a 20-foot tall fence or whatever. The winds just get so gnarly that it's going to blow stuff into your yard. But we're going around, we're picking up trash. Got a trash picker and a bucket. We're going around picking up trash, make the yard like good, and then we give back to nature by doing things like composting, by doing things like planting plants that are going to attract pollinators and predatory insects that will stop our other plants from being attacked. We really try to give back to the land as much as we want it to give back to us in terms of production and things like that. And we leave native grasses and other native wildlife alone because, those are things that are going to feed the native populations of insects and, potentially other wildlife,
It's kind of had this ripple effect too, because, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, but not getting rid of the ants. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many different species of ants that were on the property when it was a little bit warmer. And because of that, we ended up with these horned lizards that aren't as common as the Texas. They're the regal horned lizards.
Yeah.
That eat one specific type of ant primarily. And if we hadn't, saved the ants, we might not have ended up with this really cool connection we had with these like two regal horned lizards. And they felt like the little watchers and protectors of the property for a while because we'd just find them for months.
And they let me, because normally they're very skittish. They're skittish animals, because they have to be, because there's other things that are going to predate on them as well. That's the reason for the horns, so they can kind of protect themselves. They're very skittish. But they let me go up. One of them let me go up to it and pet it, and I don't know if you remember, but there's a video where I'm I think I'm petting it under its chin, and it's it's like closing its eyes. It was crazy. It was a really wild experience, and it was very spiritual. And I actually just made a video. I was planting some potatoes outside, and actually just made a video, and I was talking about the ants as well, because I was like kneeling down. Like at first I was like kind of like bending over, like bad for the back, I know, but we also got goat heads, and so I don't want to get stabbed in the knee basically by the goat heads, right? So I was kind of like bending down, bad for the back, I know, not good gardening posture. It's fine. But I did, right? And then I was talking about it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to kneel down. I kneeled down, and then I saw these ants moving in the soil, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, that's the good thing about kneeling down, is you get to get right up there on the earth, and you get to see what's going on. I went to see those ants from the view that I had, like, when I was, up there at a taller posture, just bending down and putting the potatoes in the ground. And I was talking about how we don't kill the ants And the only time that we would ever try to control them is if they crossed some kind of boundary, right? If they start biting me or you or the kids or the dogs without being provoked and things like that. Other than that, we just leave them alone. And even if we are going to have to go a route where we kill them, or we wouldn't kill them, you know, like, or we would try to just repel them instead. So diatomaceous earth, yes, diatomaceous earth would actually kill them because it cuts into them. It is a natural product, and but it's a direct contact thing, so you have to sprinkle it on them in order for them to die. And it doesn't really work. It works well in the powder form, but then of course you go and you irrigate your garden and it doesn't really work anymore. The one thing that I found that actually works really well is cinnamon.
And that's more of a repellent than it is like something that harms them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they don't like it. I think for two reasons. One is that when they basically inhale the way insects kind of breathe, it's kind of weird. I think they breathe through like sphericals on like the side of their body, but whenever they essentially ingest the dust, and it kind of like chokes them out. But then
cinnamon challenge.
Yeah, the ultimate cinnamon challenge. But like cinnamon challenge.
Cinnamon challenge.
My corny jokes. But anyway, the other reason is because ants rely on things like pheromones to be able to communicate with each other, right? And when you put something that's a pheromone disruptor, like something that has a strong scent, like cinnamon, then they're all of a sudden they're not able to communicate with each other because they're picking up the scent of the cinnamon instead of the scent of the pheromones.
It messes with them.
Right. So it is if we were to ever have to get rid of any of the ants for whatever reason, that would be one way to do it. And the other way to do it is just let their natural predators come and eat them, you know? Like, we kind of do the same with, like, aphids. It's like, okay, well, if there's aphids in the garden, there's also ladybugs in the garden. There's also praying mantises in the garden.
We've seen so many ladybugs, so many praying mantis, like... It works. You just kind of give nature a minute to run its course. And
I was talking about that too in the potato video, which I'll post sometime later. But in that video, I was talking about nature, and like I said, I work in a plant pathology lab. I work with a pathogen called Phytophthora, and we have economic specialists working on this project. We have food and safety microbiologists working on like the post-harvest infection of this particular pathogen. We have soil-borne microbiologists working on it. You know, we have plant breeders and geneticists. Like, we have a panel of scientists working on this project, but nature's already figured it out. We're just trying to figure out how nature has figured it out. And I've mentioned this in a podcast before, but basically, you know, we go out to these chili fields, and Phytophthora is one of those pathogens that it affects solanaceous crops. So anything in the Solanaceae family or the nightshade family, same thing. Like tomatoes and potatoes, and actually Phytophthora, a species of Phytophthora, was responsible for the Irish potato famine.
I forgot to mention to you, my blind friend texted me recently.
About potatoes?
No. But he was asking what you do for a living, and I was explaining that you were a plant pathologist, and he was like, what on earth is a plant pathologist? So I explained, I was like, it's like a people pathologist, you know, the people that study diseases, but like instead he studies diseases that affect plants. And he was like, why would we care what makes the plants sick? And I was like, because we eat them.
Oh, wow.
So, and then like I explained it to him, and it all kind of clicked, and he was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I was like, I mentioned to him that the potato famine.
Yeah, no, it
was like a related pathogen, right?
Yeah, it's just a different species of the same genus of pathogen. So it's Phytophthora. The one we work with is Phytophthora capsucea, and I don't it was Phytophthora infestans was the species that wiped out the potatoes in Ireland. Phytophthora capsicii is another devastating one, and it attacks chili. And we have people looking at watermelon. We have people looking at pumpkin. I was actually one of the people that looked at pumpkin as well. So I did a trial on pumpkin and chili. And my main job is, well, I'm a project manager, so I'm managing this grant and that has this panel of scientists from multiple different states that are working on this particular pathogen and different portions of that. So there's like an economic development kind of portion. There's like the plant breeders and the plant geneticists working on, other things. But my job part of my job is to look at and evaluate biological controls, and not the kind of biological controls that are already prepackaged, pre-made, and sold, as biological controls. Some of them work, some of them don't work. It just, some of them are, what we consider snake oil, where they're just selling you something that they guarantee is going to work, and then it just doesn't,
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. But my job is to collect biological organisms. So what I've been doing is collecting mushrooms, and that grow on campus, and then I dry them out. I grind them up into a powder. I make an extract at different concentrations, say 1%, 5%, 10% concentrations. And then I look at their efficacy in multiple different ways, both in the lab and the greenhouse and the field, against the Phytophthora capsicii that I'm looking at. So it's I don't remember where I was going with that, but
Segue.
yeah.
Well, welcome to the ADHD podcast. You'll hear about 20 different subjects today, all at the same time.
Well, I know we were talking about Phytophthora, and we're talking about nature, and I was talking about the potato video that I was just saying. But like basically, yeah, so that's my job, right? And we have all these scientists working on this project, but like nature's already figured it out. So we'll go into a chili field, and there will be, let's say, a row of chili, and all of them are healthy, except for like maybe 2 of them. And 2 of them will have Phytophthora. And they might be next to each other, they might not be next to each other, it doesn't really matter, right? And then you gotta wonder, well, why those plants? Why were they the only 2 in the entire row that got infected by this pathogen? And if you know about Phytophthora, what it does is it has these spores that have these little tails called flagella that allow them to swim through water. So they infect the plant through water, so irrigation or rain splash or, something along those lines. And so it's like, okay, well, if you have a furrow and you're irrigating it, you're like either, a lot of people are doing drip now, but let's say you're flood irrigating it, then why did the Phytophthora only affect these 2 plants and not the others? And it's because nature's figured it out. And we haven't, and we're trying our best to figure out how nature's figured it out. And, we don't even understand the amount of things like polyphenols that are in fruits. Like, that's why people are studying that stuff still. Because they're just like, okay, well, we know that there's this and this and this, but there's so many different active compounds and things like fruits and vegetables that we just kind of we're just newly discovering. It's kind of nuts.
I think we've had such a rapid advancement in maybe just the last 100 years, so it doesn't feel like it, but we've only scratched the surface on just understanding how the human body works, how plants work. We don't know what's in the ocean.
And the interaction between the 2,
We know hardly anything
Yeah.
that there is to know. Like, there's endless things to be studied, and it'll be that way in another 100 years.
Which is good, because job security, And it's kind of cool because, like, yes, and I was talking about this also in the potato video, but it's cool because, like you were talking about, there's like the spiritual side of things, right? So I have the scientific side of things. Well, I mean, we have it all, but I started with the scientific side of things, and then I'm moved into the spiritual side of things with the scientific side of things. But there's also, like, I'm the kind of scientist that also looks at nature and what nature does. And the reason I brought it up in the video is because, you know, whenever you're planting potatoes or you're planting carrots or you're planting anything, there are spacing requirements. You have to put this seed 12 inches apart from this seed and 12 inches apart from the next seed. And it just, nature doesn't do that. There's no perfect, cute, straight little lines in nature. It is chaos out there. Everything just grows where it wants to grow. And therefore, like, yes, I'm a scientist and I know how to keep up with the science behind these things, which also means I know how to read journals, and I know how to read, like, you know, peer-reviewed articles, and I know how to look for who sponsors these studies. And that's the main question that you have to ask yourself. It's like, okay, well, this study is saying aspartame is good for you. Who's funding this study? You know, that kind of stuff. So, and then you figure it out, you know, from there. But being able to look on the nature side of things, it's like, oh yeah, nature's not pretty, man. Like, I mean, nature's beautiful, but it's not organized.
Yeah, it's beautiful in its chaos, but it's not orderly. You know, if we look at how everything naturally grows, the grass isn't growing to just, you know,
oh yeah,
this 1 to 2 inch height, and you have to keep it that way. Like the grass grows way taller than that.
Oh yeah,
because it serves a purpose other than just looking aesthetically pleasing in an organized sense.
And if you think about the reason we're even here in the first place, it's because of chaos. You know, the entire universe only exists because of chaos. It's all nice and neat with some cute little rock floating through space, you know? It's like...
I just picture, like, Earth with a little bow, like, little anime style. Ding!
Yeah, no, like, it's not like that. It's nuts. We're spinning rapidly and flying through this vast, infinite amount of space, trying to avoid all this debris and not collide into other things. It's wild, man. The whole thing.
And now we all pay taxes.
Well, yeah, which is even more chaotic. But I guess so switching, I guess, into what we were gonna talk about last time. We had to look it up because we were like, well, we skipped last week pretty much and completely forgot about what we were gonna talk about. But one of the things we were going to talk about was thrift shopping. So when you're running a homestead, the thrift store is your best friend. Not even if you're just running a homestead, just in general. I love thrift stores.
Oh, and before we get into that, when you talk about what a homestead is, it got serious.
Triceps, son.
I didn't even feel that. When you talk about homesteading, and I feel like we've talked about this before, but not everybody will think of small-scale urban homesteading as homesteading. Like, there's a superiority complex. So for new listeners, homesteading, by definition, is doing everything you can to lean towards a self-sustainable lifestyle. And I think part of that is, like, the people that want a homestead aren't just doing it because it's more affordable. They're doing it because they care about the impact that things like fast fashion and overconsumption have on the environment. So thrifting isn't only something that's good if you're just trying to be, you know, thrifty with your money, but it's good if you're thinking about the sustainability of the earth too.
And we touched on this before too, but you know, one of the things is, like, homesteading is about being as self-sufficient as possible. And true self-sufficiency, obviously you might have people that are like, well, that's not true self-sufficiency because you're still going to the store. Why don't you sew your own clothes? It's like we've talked about the people that dive in 100% to the shallow end of the pool are the ones that are most likely going to hit their head on the bottom. You know what I mean? And it's a very deep it's a very deep craft. Homesteading it's a very deep craft to be able to get into, and you have to get the ball rolling slowly. You can't just jump into it. I mean, maybe you can. I'm not saying that like it's a one size fits all. If you and again, just bringing up, we talked about this before, but if you lived on like a ranch or like a homestead or something ever since you were a kid, and you learned how to build things, and you learned how to fix things, and you learned how to take care of animals, and you learned how to survive natural disasters and like all kinds of stuff, who'd that be?
So Shannon Rose says, "Hey guys, nature is incredible, chaotic and symbiotic both at the same time."
Hey Shannon, thanks for tuning in. I'm always excited to see what you and your husband are up to on the farm. You guys are always doing some cool stuff, man. And I really thoroughly enjoy watching what you guys do. It's a huge motivator for me, to be honest with you, because I see people like you and your husband and other people out there kind of doing the same thing that we're trying to like work towards.
Yeah.
So it is really cool. And yes, nature is awesome. Chaotic and symbiotic sure is. And that's actually another one of the things that I'm looking at is one of those symbiotic processes in my job. I'm giving some of my plants mycorrhizal fungi to see if, along with other biological controls, to see if there's any inhibitory effects against this Phytophthora pathogen. So, thanks for the comment. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I don't remember where I was.
I don't know, but it made me think of Angela too. She's always putting stuff out there. So if you see this, Angela, because I know that we
see the goats.
we interact a lot. It just reminds me that there are so many ways that you can turn your homestead into a business.
Yeah.
As well. So the things that you end up getting really good at, I think, are the things that you end up marketing on the most. So in some cases, like I think Angela was selling soaps for a long time. She probably still does. And they're really good goat milk soaps.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that she's putting out the most.
Nice.
And so like on our side, in this stage of our business development, we're doing a lot of like crafty type stuff. We're doing a lot of photography.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways, and we'll look into doing like sourdough at some point too.
Yeah, no, and like that's the one of the I know we were talking about diving headfirst into homesteading and how it's I remembered like
Thrifting.
Yeah, so diving right into homesteading and like trying to figure out like what to do, is a difficult task. And so yes, there are things that you have to still buy. I mean, like when you're first starting, like when I was making that potato video earlier, I was using store-bought potatoes that ended up like having eyes. And of course, like we buy the organic stuff and and all that, and we can get into why, but that's a pretty long topic. We might have to save that for just a podcast in and of itself, because it goes into nutrition and all various aspects of it. So it's kind of nuts. But it's like, yeah, well, we still have to grow, or we still had to buy potatoes, because we're not just gonna plant seeds in a garden and wait for them to spring up, because we have to feed ourselves. We have a family to feed, you know what I mean? Like we have to eat food to survive. So there are things that you have to, when you're first starting, you have all of these initial costs as well. And then, of course, like when you own the home and the land and stuff like that, there's all this upkeep and different costs that come with that. But you slowly just try to, or at least our philosophy is like slowly just trying to replace what we can when we can replace it. So it's like, okay, watermelon and cantaloupe grow really well around here. So let's grow some watermelon and cantaloupe. The only reason that we weren't successful with it is because of the neighbor's chickens that came and, kept pecking at it. But we also, not to just fully blame them, because if that were the case, we could have put a fence up and all that stuff. It's just one of those things we have to learn as we go. But we look at things that we consume the most, right? It's like, okay, well, we consume a lot of berries, so let's plant a blackberry plant.
Yeah. We consumed a lot of bread, so we stopped buying bread at the store. And the first stage of that was just regular bread. I was making...
Yeah, it wasn't sourdough.
Yeah, just with yeast. I got comfortable with making bread first. And then I got slowly comfortable with making sourdough. And now it's like second nature. It's like one of those... I don't know why I was so nervous at the beginning. It seemed like it was such a scary thing, but it ended up being way easier. And I think that that's a lesson, is there's a lot of things that feel super intimidating at first and end up being way easier than you think they are.
Yeah, well, and then we're in the age of information, which can be really good, but it can also be really bad and really confusing, and especially if you don't know if that information is valid or not. And people tend to overcomplicate simple things. It's just one of those things. And so when you go and you look up you research how to actually like create sourdough, it's like people make you nervous about it because they overcomplicate it.
Well, and there's so much contradicting information, because you have this one creator that has 2 million followers, and she says the only way to do sourdough is this exact method that she uses, and everybody else's method is whack. And then you have this other lady who also has 2 million followers, and she's telling everybody the same thing, but her method's different than this lady. Both of them have bread that looks really good. So at the end of the day, like, you have to remember, people have been making sourdough since people were living in caves. So, like, people are literally making sourdough in caves. It's not as complicated as, like, these people make it seem.
And does that have to do you think, with the culture that they're using?
Oh, absolutely.
And potentially where they live, because I know, like, sometimes we live in a high altitude environment, and sometimes we have to even adjust. You'll look at the back of we don't buy really like boxed stuff, but like, let's say you get some scalloped potatoes or something that you're supposed to throw in the oven, and it says like, okay, bake it at 350 degrees for 20 minutes or whatever it is, and then it's like, but for high elevation, bake it at 400 degrees or 325. I don't remember if it's higher or lower, but
yeah, there is a difference, I guess, especially when it comes to baked goods. So the only thing that I could see making a huge difference is just playing with your hydration. So I think this applies to anybody that's making sourdough. If it's not coming out right, you can assume that it's just your hydration that isn't working for your recipe. So that means that you can either add or reduce water in your recipe.
Fix your ratio, essentially.
Yeah, so your ratio just might need to be different, something that works for you. I've seen people work with all kinds of different ratios for sourdough bread.
Yeah, no, and that's that is there is we're actually at my job, they were interviewing candidates for this position that they're trying to hire for, and one of the candidates was I don't remember, he got asked a question by one of the audience members, and he was just all like, well, yeah, but I mean, like, it was during one of the teaching seminars, and they were asking him about how he would relay the information in a way that is obtainable to a variety of different students, basically. And he was just all, well, you look at like YouTubers, and the reason why people are able to get so many followers is because they're able to convey the information to common folk. You can watch a 16-minute YouTube video on, let's say, music theory. And if the person is really good at teaching music theory, you look at the comment section and people are like, oh my gosh, I went to college for music theory and I didn't learn as much as I learned in the 16-minute video.
Yeah.
You know, and so it is about the way that you convey information, but just because you can convey information in a compelling way doesn't necessarily mean that that information is correct either.
Some people are like charismatic, but they don't have the experience or information to back it up. I think that you have to be humble enough to say, well, I don't know enough about this, but a lot of people will kind of just take anything from the air and plug it in just because they can and they have like the ability to talk to people.
And people like entertainment, man. Like if you look at the majority of these channels and stuff that do really well, it's because like they're entertaining people, whether they're like pranking someone, or they have like these misleading titles like pranking someone in the hood gone wrong, you know, or something like that.
Something crazy.
Yeah, and then like you're like, oh, how's this guy got like 10 million followers?
Shocking things, controversial things. So people that are very controversial and very open about being controversial, sometimes people just say things for the shock value. I think that people are doing things just for clout and not necessarily based on their own personal opinions even. And
unfortunately people sell their souls for stuff like that. It's like, no, dude, I don't want to sell my soul. I would much rather, because we can make all kinds of like weird videos and things like that and really just blow the channel up, but that's not organic. Like that's not gonna attract the kind of people that, you know, are going to be interested in the stuff that we have to say. That's gonna just attract a bunch of people that like may or may not actually care about homesteading in general. So it's like I'd rather layer this channel brick by brick, you know, and have a really strong, solid, you know, building at the end of it, than have like a really fast, you know, like exponentially growing channel that takes us away from our core values and morals, exactly. You know. So, but I guess you know, back to the thrift shopping, and it's really cool because the kids love it too. The kids love thrift shopping, so thrift shopping is really good. And one of the things that I like the most about it, and we kind of touched on this in the last episode, is that you're not just getting the same regurgitated material that you'll find at your local big box stores. You find cool, unique, antique things, sometimes stuff that's brand new. And I'm not going to say what we bought because it's a Christmas gift, you know, and that person might be watching.
At some point.
But let me tell you that we went to a store and we got something for $25.
Ah, it was half off. It was like...
Oh.
Yeah, okay, it was $12.50.
Like, okay, so we went to a thrift store and got something that would have been $25 but was half off because we got it on Black Friday. And it was... you know, it was $12.50. But if we were to buy, and it was brand new, and if we were to buy that in like a normal store, like a Target,
even just like a Ross or a Marshalls or something,
it'd be over $100
for sure.
So it's crazy. We even actually brought it up. Oh, so Nettie's thrift store. I'm gonna shout them out because the lady is awesome, and she actually won the Las Cruces Bulletin Best for thrift shops, and she's just really cool. So if you have a chance, and we're not sponsored by them, okay, but they just have really she just has a really cool store. It's small, it's a smaller store. It's not like Savers, you know, or anything like that, but there are cool things and there's really good deals there, and the lady is just like, you know, extremely nice.
Yeah.
So Nettie's thrift store, if you're gonna go thrifting at a small thrift store in Las Cruces, New Mexico, check out Nettie's. She has cool stuff, and that's where we ended up getting it. But we brought it up to the register, and she was like, man, this is brand new. She's like, I'm glad you guys got this because I would have bought it for myself like if you guys didn't get it. But we we like to go to these thrift stores again because you find just unique things there, not only cheap, new things sometimes, but just really, really unique things. And
Yeah.
we like to craft. And especially during the holiday times, it's like, yeah, you can go, dude, ornaments are expensive. Christmas ornaments, ridiculously expensive. Especially when you want to buy a lot of them, like the special ones.
There's this trend on, I think it was on TikTok that I saw. There's like this ornament trend, and it's like a 6-piece set, maybe $80. It was like a 4 to 6 piece set, and people have been obsessed with it, and it's just like a checkered design. So there's been like people talking about how to make it yourself, like in a similar fashion, because like that's what's trending and that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
And it's I think the whole trending ideas, especially around Christmas, it just takes so much of the authenticity away. Because I think, like, when I think of Christmas, I think of all the decorations that have been passed down that I want to see every year. Like I go to my parents' house, it's the same decorations that we had as kids.
Yeah.
And some of those are here now, but it's like I don't want to go to my parents' house every year and see that they have a brand new theme and nothing's the same. It's just like, no, I want to see the same stuff I grew up with. And like when our kids are older, they're going to come over for Christmas, they're going to see the same stuff that they grew up with.
Well, and especially if you make that stuff yourself, because then it puts a higher value on it. Or, I mean, I guess it makes it invaluable, really, because it's the one and only. There's no other one exactly quite like it. But again, you go to some of these big box stores and you're getting all this regurgitated material. And one of the things that we decided to do this year was just create our own. We did it last year too. We got these clay ornaments and we painted them, right?
Yeah.
And we got like these clay, like unpainted clay. You got a Santa, and then I got like a truck with a tree on it, like the classic red Christmas truck with the tree.
Yep.
And
it's a little red truck calling a Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly. And like I painted that one. And this year, we're gonna do. We got the empty Christmas ornaments, and one of the things you can do is you can just get paint, just squirt paint in there, and then just like shake it up. And then I've seen people that actually they'll get temporary tattoos, and then they'll put the temporary tattoo on the ornament, which is pretty cool. So that's like super cheap and also creative. It gets your kids to actually like do something as well. You can do something as a family instead of just buying it. And like, yeah, hanging up stuff on the tree is part of doing things with your family too, obviously, but this way you get to hang up the stuff that you actually also created. And being on a homestead, one of the cool things about it is that you get a lot of family time. A lot of times I think when you're like in the inner city and you're so close to things like shopping malls and parks and all this other stuff, it's like you don't get a lot of family time sometimes. Sometimes you don't have a yard, so like your kids can't go out and play. You gotta take them to the park and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that just kind of bring their kids to the park and just stay on their phone the entire time. So I'm running around with the kids if we're at the park, and stuff like that. And it's just, not knocking anybody. I'm just saying that's what happens is like you sometimes you kind of divert away from being able to spend a lot of time with your family. Sometimes when you're living close, like in these urban areas that are a little bit closer to civilization.
Well, and something that I've noticed, comparatively speaking, you'll hear parents in more of like the inner city families talk about needing more breaks from their family members, whether it be like their partners or their kids. And if you see like the homesteading families, they've more figured out how everybody has their own jobs. So I think that it takes some of the overwhelmed feelings out of parenting and being a family altogether. So you end up turning more of like the chore-like tasks into family things too.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody contributes, But yeah, one of the other way to make the ornament is you can get like crayons and you can sharpen them. Just put the shavings in there, and then you heat it up with like a blow dryer, and then
And
it
it
melts
melts
the
them.
wax. Yeah, and then you can create the ornaments that way. So we do, we try to get the kids involved in doing things like crafts. We get them involved in like going outside. We get them involved because again, doing a homestead or running a homestead, it's a multi-person kind of deal. It is extremely hard. If it was just one person living by themselves, no partner, no kids, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, if you did it small scale enough where it's like just enough to take care of you.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the degree of homesteading. Like turning it into a business would be a lot harder all by yourself.
And how demanding your life is too. Because if it was one of those things where like let's say that there wasn't essentially like a 9 to 5 and then MMA training directly afterwards, there'd be a lot more time to put into the homestead.
Yeah.
But then of course that's like you have to grow in multiple different areas in your life, and growing the homestead is awesome, but it's not the only thing, because also running the homestead you have to know how to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And in knowing how to protect yourself, you have to be able to fend off anything that might be a threat to you or your family, and
Yeah.
so training in that sense does that. And then also too, if you're just sitting at home eating Doritos all the time and you're just, kind of overweight, maybe a little lazy, you're not really going to run a homestead that well. You might get a little sluggish and
It makes the motivation harder. Like those types of foods, the highly processed foods with all kinds of fun ingredients, they usually leave you feeling more sluggish. They leave you with lower motivation. It's like your food is fuel, and that's why growing as much of it as possible from home is the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that, since we are talking about thrift shops, we want to plug a couple products here. So these are all handmade by us. Okay, we're not plugging any products from anybody else. This isn't regurgitated material you're going to find at some kind of store, unless you go to our Etsy down below.
That's the store.
But seriously, okay, so check this out. You can talk about this one because you're actually the one that made that.
So this was kind of just a prototype, and it's funny because he grabbed it when we were grabbing the other products, and I don't have this on Etsy. This was kind of a prototype because I'm not sure how I feel about the handle, but it's a Christmas ornament. So this goes into self-sustainability too. Like this was just a jar that I found lying around, and I just used hot glue to attach the trees and some snow, and then added like some Christmas thread. So if you're trying to make your own Christmas ornaments, this was a really easy peasy way to do it too. But something like this will probably end up on the Etsy page as well.
And it was if I'm not mistaken, it was originally a spice jar, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So we have this little carousel that has spice jars in it. And again, we try to repurpose everything. So it's like, unless it's just like actually trash, if we find a piece of plastic in the yard because it flew in, from the wind or whatever, it's going to be hard to repurpose that. So those are the kinds of things that like you do have to throw away, and we're not off grid or anything like that. We still have garbage truck that comes and picks up our garbage and, whatever. We're, we could get into that too, another time. But again, sometimes people will make the argument that, well, if you're not off grid, you're not actually homesteading. It's like, okay, well, you can keep that thought in your mind if you're one of those people, and it's not worth my energy to argue that. I don't think. You've already said what the definition of homesteading is, the actual Webster's dictionary definition. Okay, but anyway, I'm going off on a monologue here, a little tangent. Here's another thing. We have a camera. We have a professional camera. This is going to be a harder thing to do with like an iPhone or something that's an equivalent. Okay, but we have a professional camera, and we plug the SD card into the computer, and we look to see what pictures we think would look good in frames. And then we go to the thrift store, we buy frames, because again, you're going to find unique ones, and they're not ridiculously expensive. If you go to Hobby Lobby and you're looking for a frame, you're looking at $35 to $40, $50, $65. It's
Which, if we had to sell our photography at the price of buying brand new frames, like, it wouldn't be affordable for people to be able to buy framed prints.
yeah. So, and maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe the actual frame itself without a picture already in it is a little bit cheaper. But whenever we went and I looked at things that were framed that had pictures in them, they were upwards of, $50 or $60. I think the cheapest one I found was like $35. So we like to go to the thrift stores, and we like to get these frames. Excuse me. You can paint them if you want. You can just leave them alone, and then you can just find pictures that will actually be able to go into those frames. So here's one. Oh no, the light's gonna reflect.
To shift like this way. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, cool. So there's the mushroom. That one is a picture I took. I believe this was in our yard, actually. We had a mushroom growing by one of the plants in our yard. And then we also have rescued this frame.
That's one of my favorite pictures.
And we put this, it looks like a nettle leaf in there. I'm pretty sure it is a nettle leaf. I think I took this picture on one of my many hikes.
Plant excursions.
So, and then those again, the framed photos, those are available on Etsy. And how much are they? Do you remember?
I think somewhere between 18 and 25, depending on which one, depending on like the frame, I think.
Okay. Of price would be $18 to $25 for those, and again, handmade, thrifted frames. Everything that all the pictures have been taken by one of us, or maybe potentially a child. Like our children.
Our children.
Yeah, not just,
it's a random child.
Had to clarify that. You never know. Sometimes people might not know us on the internet, It's like, well, we're not just picking up kids and making them take pictures. We have children for that.
They can take pictures.
What else we got?
So the products that I brought out front that are on Etsy right now are mostly the Christmas ones. We have a lot more stuff than just Christmassy items, but I wanted to really highlight how easy it can be to make your own gifts. And if you work a job where you see a lot of people and you want to be more festive during this time of year, I remember when I worked in person, whether it was like as a barista, front desk somewhere, I really liked being super festive around this time of year, and I still do every time we leave the house. Like, so, here's some. Here, I'll get closer. The Jingle Bell earrings, and these weren't actually that hard to put together. You just have to kind of learn the jewelry clasping. Mm-hmm. But the idea of making jewelry, I think, is way more intimidating than it is in practice. So, like, that's a cool skill to build. And I think earrings are a really great place to start with that. So I could actually do videos on that as well. And then the other thing that isn't as complicated as it seems would be something like candle making. So this is one of, like, the favorite things I've ever made, honestly. But it is a candle, and I used soy wax, beeswax, pine, cedar, and bergamot. And then for the jar itself, I had this book. It was Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, and it was falling apart. It's just one of the oldest books in my collection. And I was moving books around and I dropped it and it just completely fell apart. So rather than throwing it away, I decided to just start tearing up pages and making different crafts with it. So if you've ever used Mod Podge before, that's a great way to decorate jars. I liked the book page idea. You've got Charles Dickens there on the front. I figured it would make a good Christmas candle, so that one is also on Etsy.
Well, no, is that twine on top?
Yeah.
And then with like the red and green with the holly, did you just hot glue that, or did you just tie it with the twine?
I usually would hot glue something like that into place, but the Mod Podge actually held everything together just fine.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you just Mod Podged it?
Yeah, in this case I didn't need to use any hot glue.
And then just one more thing on that, talking about the jar itself again, it's repurposed, you know? Again, we buy things that are in jars. You know, sometimes we try to avoid plastic if we can, but we buy things that are in glass jars, and then we repurpose them for things like candle making or storage or, you know, putting broth in. You know, there's a million different ways to repurpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a repurposed jar. Just to throw that out there, too. And again,
Speaking
another
of,
repurpose. Yeah.
There was a period of time that we were using glass milk bottles, but you're not doing dairy as much. Really, I think that Aiden's the only one that drinks milk. So we're just getting smaller amounts at a time.
Yeah.
So we switched from them, but we have a lot of these, like, milk jugs. So this is a Christmas decoration, a little printed sketch Santa, and then more of those same book pages. And then this one was hot glued on.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah.
I believe to some degree, at least like this part. So yeah, just get creative with your Christmas stuff. And if you don't have the time, we really try to keep our page as affordable as possible.
Yeah.
On the Etsy's.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
we're not trying to get rich over here. We're trying to share our spirit with the world, you know, essentially. Yeah. Just like, hey man, like, have you tried checking into some local crafts, you know?
Yeah. And so I think would be a really cool, like, Secret Santa, or what are those, a white elephant, or you might not
Secret elephant,
yeah. Or you might not know a person super well, but, or maybe it's like for a couple, but yeah, so it's very festive and very Christmassy. I combined a lot of skills with this one, so this is very repurposed as well too. The basket itself, same Mod Podge technique, but it was a cardboard spinach basket before it became a Christmas basket.
And you have a video on how to make that.
Yes.
Correct. Plus is the video how to make the whole set, or is it pieces of the set?
It showed, the whole video showed the entire process, but it doesn't go into detail. Like, I didn't explain in detail how I crocheted, but if people were interested in learning granny squares, that's something that I would definitely share. And then there's another thing that we keep on our website, on our Etsy at all times, and that is tea strainers. So this set includes these snowflake mugs, which... Here.
Oh,
I was gonna say, if you wanted to like show that the mug is cute underneath too.
We'll check out the mug first.
It's a little peekaboo.
Okay, so there's the mug. This one looks exactly like it.
These were actually thrifted. We found this set also on the same day that we found that present.
That's the design.
So one of them has
square?
So one of them has like a red base and one of them has a green, so they're same but different. And then the tea strainers are matching.
Yeah, so if you see one, you see both of them. So the red and green lights, the red and green Christmas lights with the tea strainer. These tea strainers are awesome. We use them. I mean, not these ones obviously because we're selling them, but we already used gently used tea strainers.
Rhiannon fell in love with the Halloween one, and since it didn't sell at Halloween, I ended up giving that one to her.
Nice.
What did she? I feel like she actually did something it.
You gave me a dragonfly one, which is really cool. But yeah, no, we have these tea strainers and we use them ourselves, so we can, guarantee the product is really good, and yeah, just get your loose leaf tea, throw it in there, If
you want a little whimsy with your tea.
Yeah, snuggle up with your favorite person during one of those cold Christmas mornings. Maybe, if you're not gonna be drinking tea out of the mug, drink some hot chocolate or whatever you want to do, So it's those are some of the products we have, and Christmas is coming up, so if you have anything that you're that might have piqued your interest in this episode, go ahead and check out our Etsy page. And there are things on the Etsy page, so it might be worth checking out anyway, because there are things on the Etsy. I keep forgetting the camera's over there. I'm like talking to the computer. So if they're on the Etsy page, it might be worth checking it out anyway, because this is only a subset of things that we have currently available on that page. And obviously the holidays are coming up, so we try to get things shipped out 1 to 3 business days. With the holidays coming up, it might be a little bit, depending on when you order, it might be a little bit longer than that, or shorter, depending on if they're trying to expedite things or not.
Yeah. We can, that's what we have on our website, is a 1 to 3 day, but that's like 1 to 3 business days. So
yeah,
if you happen to order on Friday, we don't have the same access to the post office.
Yeah.
So 1 to 3 business days.
Yeah, exactly. So, and to go along with that, if you have an idea that you would like, because we can also, if we know how to do it and it's feasible, you can't order you can't request 500 handcrafted items, because that's just not within reason. But if you're interested in requesting something that you would like, it's like, oh well, I really like the candle idea, can you mod podge another book to this scented candle,
It's like, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of pine, but I would love lavender or lavender and vanilla or something like that.
Yeah, or it's like, well, I'm not a huge fan of Charles Dickens. Can you cut up some Shakespeare instead? Something like that. Something along those lines. Something feasible. Or if you're interested in buying some framed photography, hey, do you have any pictures of this particular plant, this particular flower, this particular animal? It's like, maybe we do. And if we do, we can put it in a nice frame for you. We'll ship it out, and you'll receive it, hopefully in the 1 to 3 business days. And I think that kind of wraps up the podcast for today. But I'm not sure if you had anything left to say, or if you had any ideas of what you'd like to talk about next time.
I was gonna mention I am working on a custom jewelry piece right now. Nice. One of my friends had reached out because it was her birthday recently. So she was requesting a necklace, even though I usually don't do those. I was like, heck yeah, I could do like an amethyst style necklace. So the requests really apply to any part of our Etsy page. Yeah.
And again, it just, as long as it's within reason, I have no problem doing it, as long as we know how to do it. And we will tell you if we don't know how to do it. If you're like, okay, well, I don't know, crochet me a car cover. It's like well...
Oh, yeah. So I just learned how to do these, handkerchiefs. These little bandanas. My mom mentioned that I should try to do them as dog bandanas.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So I might make a few dog bandana style. They just have to be a little bit, sturdy, a little bit bigger, I think, or smaller if it's for a smaller dog.
And since you're the one that does the crocheting, I don't know how feasible this is, but if someone special ordered, they got a dog named Fido or something. I know that's a very stereotypical dog name, but you got a dog named Fido or something. Would you be able to crochet the name into the into the bandana, or is that a little bit
That's
more
above my pay.
complex?
That's above my pay grade.
Yeah, okay.
I bet you my mom would figure it out, but
I wasn't sure because I don't know anything about crocheting. I want to learn, and like you're planning to teach me. And you know, there's a bunch of things that we want to learn, that we want to do together, and we can teach each other how to do these things. So that's another part of the homestead journey too, is just learning from each other and being open to learn from each other and being open to learn from your kids. That's a huge thing, because your kids can teach you things. You might not believe it, but your kids can actually teach you things that you don't know. And
all the time.
Yeah, and you just got to be open to taking them seriously and to learning from them, you know. So, so did you have any idea, before we fully close up? Do you have any idea what you might want to talk about next time? I was thinking maybe potentially, since we didn't necessarily, we kind of touched on the potatoes, but it brought me to this idea of maybe talking about prepping the garden in the wintertime for the planting season.
I think that's a good topic. We can also go over, which I guess is an off-the-wall type question, but we can go over a question that we got recently from somebody that was more on the spiritual side of things.
What was the question?
The question that we had received was, can people affect your energy spiritually?
I forgot about that question.
Yeah, so I mentioned to this friend that we'll at some point bring it up on the podcast probably, but it goes into the more spiritual side of things, which will probably go into tarot as well, because I've been meaning to cover that topic, because it is something that you'll see on our Etsy page, like tarot readings as a whole. So I do want to, at some point, probably next week, talk about the stigma around it. How it could be like a lot scarier sounding than it actually is, or it can sound really tacky and not very authentic, because it seems more like, ooh, it's like a carnival trick, you know?
And it can be, depending on who's doing it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, tarot in itself could be an entire episode if we let it, just for those reasons, but we'll try to brush on
and then I can
the
talk
important things.
Well, and then I can, and you know, going on that, I can talk about too my experience with. I've done a couple of the readings, you know, on my own, but more so my experience of what the readings have done for me.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I'm in like some kind of funk and I'm just like, hey, like, I don't know, like if you don't mind, can I get a reading done? Because it answers the questions. It doesn't tell you the future, and that's the misconception, or well, one of the misconceptions. I'm sure there's many, but like that's one of the things. It's like it doesn't tell you the future. It's the cards are not psychic, but they kind of open your eyes as to what you might be overlooking, at least from my experience with getting read to.
And the only way, God, because we could go into this like continuously. The only way I think that tarot could tell the future per se is giving you guidance into the next step. It could tell you like, hey, there is something bigger coming for you, but you're going to have to recognize it. You're going to have to take the opportunity. And if you don't, this is what your future looks like. If you do, it looks like this, because everything is so dynamic. It's the butterfly effect. The tiniest ripple can change the outcome. So how is tarot gonna be able to give you a definite, yes, this is the outcome?
Yeah.
Because one tiny thing could change a person's mind.
Well, and you have to be, it's kind of like wishing on a star at that point, because like, yeah, you can wish on a star. It's like, well, I wish I, like, just, you know, I wish I had $1 million. But then if you sit back and do absolutely nothing, chances are you're not going to get $1 million. You actually have to work for it. You have to be motivated and be like, you know what, I'm going to work for it. I'm going to get the $1 million, whatever it is. I know it's a very cliche kind of wish, you know, or whatever, but just for terms of simplicity and time, you know, that was what I came up with, basically. So
Yeah, well, and questions can be really shallow too, because I have a specific readings page, and sometimes questions can be like, well, does Johnny like me? Like me, like more than a friend?
You got someone like a sixth grader coming on.
Well, sometimes these are grown women, and sometimes even men. Like it's everybody. Everybody wants to know what their love life is gonna look like. Those are the number one like style questions that I get.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes people are asking the wrong questions because they're desperate for connection. So it might be like, does this person like me? Instead of, okay, if this person likes me, what's the relationship dynamic going to start out as? Like, is this a trustworthy person? Is this a good situation to get myself into? Am I ready for this? How do I make myself ready for this?
Yeah.
You know, there's like a whole line of questions that goes into relationship readings that should be asked over, does this person like me?
Yeah, and those people might not understand the complexity either, you know, that comes with the territory, but
They get
the
it unsolicited. They get it unsolicited from me, though. It's like, if you're going to ask me a question like that, you're going to get a monologue on life.
Yeah.
That's going to come with your reading, you know? It's going to be a whole thing about whether or not you're ready to move to that stage in your life. So we could go on this subject forever, but we will cover that next week.
Yeah, sounds good. And we'll cover some other things as well. And again, thank you for tuning in. Shannon, thank you for listening. And thank you for the comment. You're actually the first comment we've ever gotten on a live. But we've only done 2 lives, but you've made history.
Yeah. Woo! All right. Thank you to whoever has been here with us on Twitch. Thanks for joining us. And we will see you guys next week.
All right, see you guys later.